Hi guys, I couldn't be in class today, so we're going to take our notes a little bit differently. Hopefully you have this paper. Our learning target is I can write the equation of horizontal and vertical lines, and there's 4 blank graphs. This should be pasted in your notebook on the 3rd page, so if it's not, please go get your notebook and put it in there right now. Just press pause on the YouTube video and make sure that this is in your notebook so it's not lost. So I said before, our learning target for today is I can write the equation of horizontal and vertical lines. To do that, we're going to split it into 2 parts. Our first goal is just writing the equation of horizontal lines. Our second goal, writing the equation of vertical lines. So before we get started, just make sure you understand that horizontal means a line that is flat, like this. Write that on your paper just as a reminder in case you forget it later. And a vertical line is a line that goes straight up and down. So for instance, on a graph, the x-axis is one example of a horizontal line. And the y-axis is an example of a vertical line. Just a quick review before we get started. So we're going to start with writing the equation of horizontal lines. Just like we learned last week, there's 2 things we need to write the equation of a line. Think for just a minute about what those 2 things are, or flip back to your first 2 pages of notes so that you can refresh your memory. Hopefully, you found that the 2 things we need to write the equation of a line, any line, are the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, the slope and the y-intercept. And now, take another second and try and remember what variable when we write the equation of just a line in general, what variable we use to represent the slope and what variable we use to represent the y-intercept. So hopefully you remembered that the slope is represented by m and the y-intercept is represented by b. On our graph, just because there's not a whole lot of room here, instead of writing the words slope and y-intercept, I'm just going to use these variables m and b to represent these 2 things. So don't let that confuse you. Alright, so for our first example, writing the equation of a horizontal line. On your graph, the first graph in the upper left-hand corner, just put a dot at y equals 1, 2, 3. And x is 0, so the point 0, 3. And then because we're graphing a horizontal line, which of course is just a line that is just flat, we can choose any point for our second point right along this line, y equals 3. So I'm going to pick this point right here. And then I'm going to just connect those 2 points and add my arrows. And now I have a horizontal line. I'll pause for a minute just to make sure everyone is caught up. Alright, so now looking at this line, and again I'm going to use the variables to represent slope and y-intercept just because there's not a whole lot of room. The slope of a horizontal line, of course we learned this before, but in case anyone needs a little bit of a refresher, think about a mountain. If I have a mountain that's very steep, the slope gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Or if I have a very gradual incline, it's less. But if I have a flat line, it's not steep, it's nothing, it's not increasing or decreasing, my slope is just plain old 0. You can also do this just as another refresher. If we use our formula for slope, y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2, our first coordinate, of course, is just x equals 0, y is 3. And our second coordinate, 1, 2, 3, is 3, 3. if I plug these numbers into our formula for slope, we see 3 minus 3, which is 0, all over 0 minus 3, which is negative 3, but anytime I've got a 0 in the numerator, it just comes out to equal 0. So either way you want to do that, our slope comes out to be 0. The second thing we need to know to write the equation of a line, the y-intercept, in this case, 1, 2, 3 is just 3. So now that's taken care of. We go back to our general form of an equation of a line, which take a minute, go back in your notes from the past 2 days, and try and, before I tell you, write down anytime we write the equation of a line we use y equals what? Okay, hopefully you had y equals mx plus b. I think this goes back to our third goal from on Friday. Now we have to substitute. In this case, we found our slope, where m is just 0. So I have y equals, I'm going to write it up here, 0x. Our y-intercept is 3. And now, this is not incorrect, y equals 0x plus 3. We can make it a little bit better. This looks a little bit cumbersome just to have this 0x, because 0 times anything is just 0. So we don't even need to include this. We can just simplify this as y equals 3, which is just our y-intercept. So when you write the equation of a horizontal line, you can go through all of these steps, or you can just look at your y-intercept. And remember that the equation is just simply y equals whatever your y-intercept is. For our second example, still on horizontal lines, let's put our y-intercept here at negative 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go all the way to negative 5. Okay, our y-intercept is negative 5. And actually, some of you probably can already write the equation of this horizontal line, just knowing that fact, but we'll walk through it. If you want to try this on your own, go ahead and pause this, and then you can skip to the end or just a few seconds ahead and check your answer. So again, to write the equation of a line, we need the slope, which because it's horizontal and it's flat, it's just 0. We need the y-intercept, which now is just negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our equation, if you want to skip right to this step and say y equals the y-intercept, go right ahead. If you want to add in the extra step where we actually make the substitution, you can do that too. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to do it right down here. Y equals 0x plus negative 5. We know that this plus negative just turns into subtraction. Equals 0x minus 5. And the final step, y equals negative 5. Make sure you have that negative 5. It's very important. It's a big difference from negative 5 and positive 5. Alright, so now hopefully we can check this off our list. I can write the equation of horizontal lines. That means it's time for vertical lines. Vertical lines are a little bit different, and let's just investigate with the first one to find out why. So for a vertical line, of course, it's a line that is just vertical. It is straight up and down. You can't, if this were a hill or a mountain, it would be impossible to climb up this hill or mountain. It's kind of like the side of a building. So to start us off, let's put a dot right here at the point 0, I'm sorry, not 0, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 0. Okay, now it's on our x-axis, not our y-axis. So we have a dot here at the point 3, 0, and let's put another dot, and it can be anywhere right along this line, but let's just put it here at the point 3, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 3, negative 4, and 3, 0. And then we'll connect the two. Okay, there's my vertical line. Now, thinking back, the two things that we need to write the equation of any line, we need the slope and we need the y-intercept. Do you see any problem already with either of these two things? Just think for a second before I tell you the answer.